Hello and welcome to today's episode of Knobi Cooks. Today I present to you another variation of a classic dish. I will show you how to prepare a mushroom risotto. You will need very few ingredients for this quick and easy to prepare dish. And the best of it, you can choose whether you want to prepare it vegan, vegetarian or with some ham. If you enjoy my content, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to my channel. For today's dish you will need mushrooms, water, half a lemon, some Parmesan, 1 carrot, a couple of shallots and a garlic clove, some white wine, a couple of spices and herbs, 1 pot with clarified butter and some risotto rice. For starters, you can already turn on the heat on your pot, because we will need it very soon. And after that we go straight to cutting. We will start by dicing our shallots. As always, first half each shallot if you need to, and then cut across them laterally. I would do lateral cuts on all of them first before dicing them afterwards. Dicing is just easier this way when there are not so many shallot dices lying around. And if you can, go for smaller shallot dices. The small dices will then blend way better into your risotto. For today's variation of this classic dish I have chosen shallots for their milder taste, though if you prefer to you could also go for an onion to get a bit of a stronger taste. Though if this dish seems too onion heavy for you, then simply leave some of the shallots out or go for a small onion. However, if you ask me, I think all of these shallots add a good bit of texture to the dish. Next we will also dice our garlic clove, and if you want to, add some more garlic cloves into the mix. A very garlicky risotto is also very tasty. Depending on what you want to use this dish for, you could use it as an entry, but with a big portion of it you could also use it as a main course. And if you want to be extra fancy, well, then maybe serve it as a side. Once we have finished cutting our garlic, we will turn our attention to the carrot. Halve your carrot and then dice it up too, by first cutting across it laterally and then cutting across it horizontally. If you want to add some more crunch to this dish, then go for bigger carrot dices. This way the individual pieces won't be cooked that soft, which will add some extra bite to this dish. However, if you want both carrots and garlic to blend into your risotto, then go for small dices. And now it's time to turn our attention to our mushrooms, or better yet, our champignons. To prepare those for cooking or cutting, we will first cut off the tips of the stems, because these are usually some not so nice parts of our champignons. And while you're at it, make sure there is no dirt still clinging to your champignons. And then once you have finished doing that, your butter or clarified butter in your pot should be molten by now, which means we can start frying our veggies. Put shallots, garlic and carrots into your pot and give them a good stir. Make sure the heat is turned up high enough so they will start frying. Because this is the only stage during cooking where we want to see our ingredients browning a little bit. Later on, once our risotto rice is in our pot, we want to avoid any burning or browning, because this will most likely lead to the rice sticking to the bottom of your pot. And nobody likes cleaning burnt in rice from their pots. And while your veggies are frying, continue with cutting your champignons. Here I would recommend you to definitely go for bigger dices. In fact, I'm basically only quartering each individual mushroom. We won't cook our champignons for real, instead we will just add them to the risotto later on and we'll let them sleep in it. Later on we only want to heat them up properly, but we don't want them to lose their texture. And once we have finished cutting our champignons, that's basically all of the cutting work done. In the meantime, keep on frying your vegetables, and once you are satisfied with their browning, add your risotto rice. From here on out, it is very important to note that you should now always keep stirring your risotto. This way you can make sure nothing will burn in your pot. This cannot be stressed enough, because at any time we will only add very little liquid into our pot, which makes this dish very prone to burning. However, if you follow through, you will end up with the most creamy risotto you have ever eaten. And then once we have roasted our risotto rice for a short while, we will deglaze it with white wine. And at this point the most important message truly is keep on stirring your risotto and basically only ever stop for seasoning or preparing some other ingredients. After a short while of stirring and letting the risotto simmer, you should notice your risotto getting more and more creamy. And that's basically the state we want to reproduce during the whole cooking process. To make sure this process works well, put your cooking field onto high heat. This way the risotto rice will not only soak up the liquid easier, but some of the liquid will also simply boil away, which means we can pour in additional liquid faster. And as a liquid, I recommend you to prepare some vegetable broth. Simply take a beaker or measuring cup, fill it with a good portion of water and add your dried vegetable broth into it. Afterwards, I recommend you to stir it under properly using an egg beater. And if you run out of water during the cooking process and your risotto is not soft enough yet, well, then simply go for some more water. During the next 10 to roughly 20-25 minutes, we will now repeat the same process over and over again. Stir your risotto for as long as you think there is enough liquid inside your pot. Once you notice you are running dry, add a small swig of liquid or vegetable broth in this case into your pot. And then immediately go back to stirring your risotto rice. Here it is important to not add too much and not too little water into your pot, though with some practice this is easily manageable. If you have never cooked a risotto before, then if you ask me, go for 2 small swigs instead of 1 large one. This way you can control the amount of liquid in your pot way easier. And once your risotto rice has soaked up a good bunch of liquid and is less prone to burning, you can turn to seasoning your dish. My recommendation here is add some liquid into your pot, give your risotto rice a stir, and then immediately afterwards add some seasoning. And then immediately after that, go back to stirring. Since we have many iterations of the same process, seasoning your risotto in the meantime will be easy. So first add some pepper and then repeat the process. And once you're in safe waters, add some thyme and repeat the process again. Do be careful with the salt though. Since we are using vegetable broth for our risotto rice, the dish will be quite salty already. And later on we will also add some shredded Parmesan cheese, which will then also add some additional salt into our dish. And if in the end you still think you are missing some salt, then rather add it at the end. Or better yet, put a salt shaker onto your tables so each person can salt their dish individually. And while we are still stirring our risotto, I have a question for you. What do you prefer seeing on this channel? Simple dishes like this risotto from today? Or some more specialized dishes like my pizza variations or my salmon with crust? I am very interested in what is most appealing to you, my dear viewer. Taste from your risotto from time to time, and once you are satisfied with the softness of your rice, you can turn off the heat. And once you have done that, you can add both lemon juice and the shredded Parmesan cheese into the mix. And then thoroughly stir both under. If you are using pre-shredded Parmesan like I do, make sure there are no big blobs of Parmesan in the risotto. Rather make sure when you're stirring it under, you end up with a smooth and creamy texture. And as an added benefit, because we have turned off the heat on our pot, the Parmesan shouldn't stick very much to the sides or to the bottom of it. Once you have made sure the Parmesan is stirred under properly and you are happy with the texture of your risotto, you can also add in the mushrooms. And if you have, like me, chosen a pot which is too small to hold all of those mushrooms, well, simply be careful when stirring them under. They should end up in your pot and not next to it, like in this video. Though once you have successfully stirred under all of your mushrooms, simply let them sleep for a while. Though maybe give them a stir from time to time so they get heated evenly. And as a rough time estimate, I would say let them sleep for about 2 to 7 minutes. The longer you let them sleep, the less texture they will have and the softer they will be. So it's all up to you. If you prefer your champignons with quite some bite, then let them sleep for only very little time and make sure you serve the dish immediately, because they will keep on cooking while they're in your pot. Before serving though, make a final taste test and maybe add some additional spices if you think the dish is still missing some. However, if that's not the case, then you can go immediately to serving the dish. And if you want to be extra fancy, like I did for this video, get some air-dried ham and serve it alongside your risotto. Simply roll up the individual slices and place them on the plates next to your risotto or on top of it. And if you want to add a little extra something for the eye, you can also place some fresh thyme or fresh basil leaves on top of your risotto. The green from the herbs will add some extra vibrancy for your eye. And alongside the red of your ham, this will make sure every one of your guests will be very impressed with this dish, even though it is quite simple to prepare. This then also brings us to the end of today's episode of Knobi Cooks. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have cooked this dish yourself, tell me down below in the comments how it tasted for you. I am Knobi and I see you in the next one.